Coach Swinney, welcome back to the Discover Orange Bowl. There's 1 day left until you play in the Discover Orange Bowl. What is left to do for you and your team?
Just kind of, finish up our normal game prep process that we go through each and every game. Obviously, we haven't played since November the 30th, so it's been a long prep time, but we've tried to make this a normal game week from a mentality standpoint. So today is, we just have a walkthrough type of deal and good meetings, and then we kind of go through our normal routine that we have on a typical Friday night before a game.
All right. We do have 2 microphones. Brian and Rebecca have them. If you could flag them down, they'll bring the microphone to you. We will open up for questions for Coach Swinney now. If you'll begin by giving your name and your affiliation, we will get started. All right, Coach, that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, hey. Good morning, everybody. Everybody awake in here?
We'll go right here on the inside aisle, row 3.
Coach Todd Porter, Canton Repository. This will be your last practice walkthrough with this group. What will essentially be your message to your team today? Maybe, obviously you'll get to talk to them in pregame, but this is maybe one of those last moments that you have to sort of fortify that message. Yeah,
just be who we are. Stay committed to the things that have allowed us to get here, and continue to prepare. It's still a long time before we kick off until 8:32. The message is a little different in this game as opposed to throughout the season, in that this is your last game. We don't have another one. It'll be 8 months before we play again. So this is the last time that this team will ever be together. Obviously, when you start back in the spring, it's a new combination of folks. New freshmen coming in, and seniors are gone. New group of seniors. So just enjoy it. Enjoy the opportunity and the moment that you have. And there's going to be a winner and a loser. Make sure you do everything you can to get yourself ready to play your very best game.
All right, we're going to go one seat behind that last question.
Aaron Brennan from the Post and Courier. Just any update on Stanton secondary, what that might do for the tight ends, and then just if there's anybody else that's with status.
We're fortunate. We're in pretty good shape. Stanton, I think he's going to be fine. But it'll be rolled his ankle, so we'll see where he is game time. But again, he's had all day yesterday and all day today and a long day tomorrow. So we'll see. But I expect him to be okay.
Next question for Coach Swinney.
Dabo, Gene Sapikoff from Charleston. Do Brent and Chad go about preparing strategically for bowl game or season opener, where they have a lot of time to think about it more differently than other coaches you've been around? And if so, how is that?
No. I mean, it's pretty similar. I mean, the biggest thing is that, we control the schedule. I mean, I think that one of the things you can make the mistake in is really over-preparing for an opponent. And it becomes boring, becomes stale, all that. So I think you have to have a good balance throughout your month of preparation of really working on yourself, because we are who we are, they are who they are. You're not going to just, show up and be a completely different football team and get away from the things that have allowed you to be successful. So you spend a lot of time going back on the details of what you do. And as you get into the course of the season, the weeks get compressed. It's not a lot of time. You're game planning each and every week. So it's nice to be able to go back and really work and have more time on the fundamentals, the techniques of what we do, and work on yourself. But then also, obviously you got to have a good amount of preparation for the opponent. But, we try not to practice too long. I think that sometimes you can make a mistake doing that. We've had 14 practices, and, it's almost like another spring ball. And over a month's worth of time. And then also, we take the time to prepare our young guys on this team, for spring. So just having a good balance, a good combination, not over preparing. One of the things that we do is the game plan is done before we come to the bowl site. We don't come down here trying to figure it out. I mean, we know what we're going to do. We're committed to our plan. When we get to the bowl site, we just we polish, and we really focus on the details and trying to get as many guys dialed into the plan as possible. So, I think that those guys have done a great job all year and done a great job in preparing our team for this one.
All right, we're going to sitting down against the wall all the way to your right.
Yeah, hi, Coach. Clay Hall, ABC 6, Columbus, Ohio. What do you like about the matchup of your receivers and their secondary?
Well, listen, we have all the respect in the world for their guys. All those guys can play. Number one to me is a tremendous corner, and their safeties have been guys that have gotten better throughout the course of the season, I think. But we really focus more on what we do, and I love our guys at our position at receiver. They're dynamic players. But they got to play well. I mean, they're going to have to, with what Ohio State does defensively, they challenge you, and you have to go and make plays. So our guys are going to have to perform at a high level. And, it's been a while since they've played in a game atmosphere. So I don't have any doubt that we'll get their best, and hopefully they'll get our best. But, I think it's I think it's always a good matchup for us when we look at our receivers. I think we got a good group of guys that compete very hard.
Back on the inside aisle.
Coach, Ohio State's pass defense problems well noted this season, and they say backups are backups for a reason. They're out their best pass rusher, probably out their best cover corner. Would you agree that you guys have probably a decided advantage, at least going into the game, on paper, because of some of those issues that they're having right now?
Yeah, somebody was asking me that the other day, and listen, this is it's hard to see a lot of advantages when you look at a football team that's 24-1, and everybody, I think, is picking at different things, and okay, obviously, if you just look at the statistics, you'd say, yeah, well, they've not had the type of year they want defensively in the passing game, but a lot of it is people can't run the ball on them. So that's where the majority of any success that people have had have been in the passing game, and most people have been behind. And so they're having to throw the ball. So there's a little bit more, sometimes that stuff can get a little skewed. They got some big old hogs up front that don't allow you to run the football very well. And it's the bottom line. I mean, and I know they're losing a great player in 8. He's a great player, but this is game 14 for them. So it's not like they got a bunch of rookies out there. They play a lot of guys, just like we do. If we lost one of our guys, I mean, yeah, you don't want to ever lose a great player, but we've got a lot of guys who've played all year and a lot of experience. And the Ohio State is a lot bigger than 1 or 2 players, and that's why they're 24-1. I mean, that's almost unheard of, to be honest with you, in modern football, for them to have that success. So, these guys are incredibly confident, as they should be, and I don't have any doubt that Coach Meyer will have them ready to go.
We're going to stay right there on the inside aisle again.
Yeah, Coach. Steve Hellwagon with 24/7 Sports. You guys were in this position a couple years ago and probably didn't get the result that you were looking for. What did you take from that experience? What have you maybe adjusted to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again?
I mean, it was a great experience, first of all. Just like this experience has been great. The Discover Orange Bowl, the folks here, unbelievable. I mean, everybody wants to be in the Orange Bowl. Everybody. Every coach, every player in the whole country wants to have a chance to be in the Orange Bowl. And that was a wonderful experience for us outside of the result. But as far as the game, I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, if we could take care of the ball, that's the one thing you'd change. I mean, if I could have a Wellington, if I could get him back from the Cardinals and have him squeeze that ball a little bit more for about 6 more inches, and that ball not go 100 yards the other way, and just do a little better job of taking care of it. I think maybe, although we couldn't really stop them, I think it would have been a little different type of game. They did a great job taking care of the ball. We did, and it was a shootout type of a game. But it was still a great experience for our guys. I think that, the one thing I told our team after the game is you grow and learn from everything. it's not always, doesn't always go according to plan for any of us in here, and in life or certainly in football, and it's how you respond to those things. And we spent 8 months after that year. I mean, we were the worst team in America. We just played in the BCS Bowl, won the ACC first time in 20 years, won 10 games first time in 20-something years. But we were this bad football team. Well, we're 21-4 since that game, and those 4 losses have been the top 10 teams, and we've had our fair share of those top 10 wins along the way as well. So this team has more than responded to a bad night. And that's really what you want to see with people, is see them pick themselves up. We came back and had a great year last year. We've had a great year this year. I mean, this is our 4th top 10 matchup for the first time in the history of Clemson. So it hadn't been easy. This is our 6th top 12 matchup in our last 15 games. So our guys are pretty battle tested. And the biggest change in our team is when we were here last time, half our roster was freshmen. We had 42 freshmen on the roster, true freshmen and redshirt freshmen. We had a first-year quarterback, a lot of puppies in the trenches, and those guys have grown up. I mean, they really have. And we led the nation in tackles for loss with basically the same guys, that were young guys a couple years ago, and there were a lot of them were backups for us, but played a lot for us last year as freshmen and sophomores. We don't have any seniors on the defensive line, so that our team is just much more of a veteran group than we were last time down here. But the experience has been tremendous both times. But obviously we want to get a different result. We want to win the football game.
We're on the front row, all the way to your right.
Coach, how you doing? Nice
Great.
to see you. Two-part question, sort of on the tail of what the gentleman just asked. Number one, the game that was here last time, there's been a lot said about it this week in quotes I've been reading, and I just wonder sometimes if once the ball's kicked tomorrow night, what happened last time really doesn't mean a thing, does it?
No. I mean, it's kind of the same message that I have every year going into spring ball. Regardless of what happens in this game, I mean, people want to act like it matters. Just like last year, we beat LSU, and that was a great win for us. It was a great win for a lot of reasons, but it didn't have anything to do with us beating Georgia. We had a lot of guys that helped us beat LSU that weren't even with us when we had to line up and play Georgia. So, and it's the things that you do in preparation and in performance of the game that help you win. So, it's just when you win games like this, it's momentum, it's good energy, all that kind of stuff, but it won't have anything to do with us going into Athens and opening up the season. I mean, that'll be a whole different deal. The fact that we beat Georgia this year ain't going to have anything to do with next year. Every year's different. Every game is a season of its own, if you will. And we're just trying to look forward to playing our best game and getting an 11th win for back-to-back years.
Isn't it awfully hard sometimes when you have a game like you had here last time for people to get it out of their head, not for you and your players to get it out of your head? I'm sure you guys forgot that pretty fast, because when you lose a game by that amount of points, there's not a whole lot you could have done to turn it around.
No, I mean, it's again, I mean, it was a bad night.
That's what I mean. That's kind of what I mean.
Bad night, and we don't dwell on that, but unfortunately, we don't forget it either. I don't think anybody, when you're a competitor, you ever forget the losses. I mean, I remember every loss, and there's no pretty losses. I mean, lose by 1 point, well, that stinks too. A loss is a loss. They all go down the same, just like a win is a win. There's no ugly win, and there's no pretty loss in my book. So you don't forget them, but you can't sit around and dwell on things when you lose a ball game. I mean, there's one team that's undefeated in the whole country. We've had a heck of a year. Again, two tough losses. We just try to focus on the things that allow us to win, because we're good enough. We have a plan that we feel like if we execute, we got a great chance to win whatever ball game we're in, and that's what we focus on.
All right, go back on the inside aisle in the fourth row.
Coach, Aaron again from Charleston. We've talked about turnovers over and over again, but for Taj and the skill players, I'm sure it's something that you don't want to have them thinking too much about it. Have you and Chad and the coaches harped on it? Do you just kind of let it go? How do you approach
No,
a subject
we
like
just
that?
do what we do. I mean, it's you just coach every day in practice. You coach every play, every play, and you coach the fundamentals. Obviously, you prepare all year long, and we were. You don't want to have any turnovers, but coming into our last ball game, we felt like we were pretty good. And we were one of the best in the country in turnover margin, as a matter of fact, going into that game. And it was a horrific night as far as taking care of the ball. And, that's a major reason why we lost the game. And that's just a common thread for us in all of our losses. And the reason for that is we got a good football team. And when we take care of the ball, there's usually a good result for us. Because we're talented and guys play tough, but that ball is 12 ounces of gold, man, and it's when you put it on the ground, it affects everything. It affects momentum, it affects field position, and it's sometimes very hard to overcome. And we've had games that we've won where we have lost the turnover margin. We've just been a better team. But when you play in games like this, you don't have a huge margin for error when it comes to not taking care of the football. And a lot of people want to talk about just offense, but I don't see it as just offense. I mean, it's creating turnovers. It's just winning that margin, winning that game within the game when you're playing in these highly competitive matchups like we have here with Ohio State.
Next question is coming from the video deck in the back on the right.
Coach, to that point, the guys that were here for a couple years ago, does that kind of set the tone for this week? Straight back.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Does that kind of set the tone for this week as far as any added motivation that you guys need to be down here?
What was the first part of your question?
Just to the guys that were here a couple of years ago in that ball game.
Yeah. Again, I mean, nobody likes to fail at anything. At any time you work really hard for something, you don't have success. What do we all want to do? You play pickup ball, you get whooped. Let's go again right now. Let's play again right now. And it was just like we were playing a little beach volleyball the other day, in our beach outing day. We lost the first game. Let's play again right now. You want to get a different result. Unfortunately, when you lose a ball game, especially a bowl game, you got to live with it for 8 months. And when you have an opportunity to come to a BCS ball game and lose it, it's you want to get back and have another opportunity. And there's only 6 teams, I think, in the country that have been at 2 BCS bowls the last 3 years. We're one of them. So it's a great opportunity for us to have a chance to win one. The other 5 teams that have been in 2 out of 3 have all won BCS bowls. We haven't. And so it's a great opportunity for us to kind of check that off our list of things that we need to accomplish as a program as we continue to climb the mountain. It's a great opportunity for those reasons. But they all want to play well. Everybody wants to play well.
All right, go back on the inside aisle.
You guys obviously recruit this state pretty heavily. But what's your overall philosophy when you attack this state and in this area in particular when you're looking for guys?
Yeah, well, we cover Florida like it's an in-state area, just like we do Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Those are kind of bread and butter states for us from a recruiting footprint. Clemson has always had great success down here. Obviously, we've had some of the best in our program's history have come from Florida. And recently, guys like Spiller and Jacoby Ford and so forth. We signed Adrian Baker out of here last year, who we think is going to be a great corner for us. We've got kids from all over the state, from the West Coast, the middle of the state, down into the Panhandle area. So it's a state that we cover very thoroughly, and we have great success. And a lot of that is because the young men that have come into our program have been successful, and there's great relationships in place and trust from the high school coaches here.
We're going to go seated in the last row on your left.
Dabo, good morning. Tim Reynolds of the AP here in Miami. This run you guys have been on these last 3 years, the 31, 32 wins, whatever it is, it seems like it's kind of coincided with the narrative about the ACC changing. So one, just how proud are you of Clemson's role in that? And two, just how far, how fast do you think this conference has come these last couple of years?
We've made great strides from, you know, I mean, I've been in this league for 11 years now, so I have a very good perspective of where we were when I first came into this league as to where we are now, program-wise and league-wise. And we, you know, it's great that Florida State is in the national championship game. I think that, you know, I made the statement last year. You know, people constantly ask you about the conference and all that kind of stuff, and my message has been pretty consistent. You know that hey, the SEC's been dominant, and for one reason, they've produced one or two teams each year that have remained nationally relevant all year and have been in the mix, and they've had an opportunity, and we have not done that. But I really felt like with what we've been able to do, what Florida State's been able to do, there's a couple other teams that are, I think, emerging. We need that as a conference. We need 2, 3, 4 teams that are nationally relevant. You know, we were in the top 10 for 14 weeks this year, school record. And you know, that's a result of the consistency and the respect that our guys have earned nationally in the type of games that they've won. And same thing for Florida State. You know, I mean, we're the only team in the league that's had 3 straight 10-plus win seasons. And that's what we need. You know, we got to have a couple of teams each year that are in the mix, especially as we go into this college football playoff deal, because we think we have a great conference. You look at, you know, I think it's the first time in the history that all the major awards were won by ACC guys. It's a great league, great league. So, you know, we're excited about where we are. You know, but we need to win these games. You know, that's the next step. You know, I don't think if record-wise that we've kind of held up our end of the deal in these BCS games. So we need to win these games. Next, it's the same thing for us. I mean, you got Ohio State and Clemson. You know, I think we, as going into this season, I really felt like we were one of the 10, 11, 12 teams that really had a chance to be in Pasadena, and I still feel that way. We came up a little short. Ohio State came up a little short, but we shouldn't prepare any differently than we would if we were in that national championship game, because to me that's what this represents, and for us to get there we have to win these type of games, and from a conference standpoint we have to win these type of games. So it's a great opportunity to you know, further our program but also represent the league.
We're going on the outside aisle, about 4 rows back on the right.
Follow-up to that, Dabo, just what are your thoughts about Florida State's chances in the championship game, and does that put more pressure on Clemson now to keep up and get to a championship game yourself?
Well, I mean, you know, they've won a couple ACC titles in the last few years. We've won one, and we've kind of been back and forth. You know, I mean, there's no new pressure. You know, we know that they are a huge challenge for us, and we're a huge challenge for them. The winner of that game has won our league the last several years and represented the league, and you know, we have to compete with everybody, not just Florida State, but because we're trying to be the best that we can be, and that's we have a standard that we try to measure up to. It's really not about anybody else, but we have great respect for the other teams within the league, and especially Florida State and what they've been able to accomplish, because they've beaten us on the field, and they're the only undefeated team in the country. But I think they got a great chance. I mean, they're, in my opinion, the most complete football team out there. They are a complete football team that has answered every challenge, and you know, I think it's a great compliment to the job that Jimbo has done with his staff, and you know, getting all those players on the same page, and again finding ways to win games. And obviously they've got a tremendous quarterback. That's where it starts, who has performed, you know, incredibly well. I mean, got a Heisman winner. So they got and a tremendous supporting cast. But they really are a football team, in my opinion, that doesn't have any weaknesses. Very, very complete team. So, the biggest thing you worry about in those type of games is a long time, since you've played a game. And anything, as we've seen, can happen in these bowl games. The ball bounces a little funny here and there, but I like their odds, and can't take anything away from Auburn either. I don't know that I'd bet against Auburn right now either. They talk about finding ways to win games. They've been phenomenal in that area. So it should be a great ball game, be an exciting matchup, and I look forward to watching it Monday night.
On the left, right in the middle of the section, the light blue shirt.
Coach, how often during a game do you find yourself getting really, really angry on the sidelines? And if that happens, is that okay for a head coach to feel that these days, or do you try to avoid getting to that point?
That sounds like a loaded question. I have 3 boys, been watching Elf for like a month. You watch that movie, Elf?
One of my favorites.
Yeah, great. Angry Elf. It make me sound like an angry coach. I mean, when we do the right things, I'm pretty good. But, every now and then, I think that, it's an emotional game, and sometimes you have to express yourself a certain way, when you're dealing with young people, to kind of get their attention every now and then. But, I try to keep my wits about me for the most part on game days. I try to, really help our coaches, really involved in our personnel, and, managing the game and all that stuff. But, I don't really spend a lot of time worrying about if I'm angry. I don't know if angry is a good word. Maybe frustrated. Maybe it's sometimes you might want to challenge somebody, but angry, I don't know.
And Coach, to follow up on that, obviously the Woody Hayes Clemson game from '78 is such a big part of Ohio State history. I'm just curious, how's that looked at? I
knew it was a loaded question. I knew it.
Well, I'm building up to a thing.
Okay.
How's that viewed from the Clemson side of things? I mean, obviously it's a different thing. Has that ever come up in Clemson history?
Well, obviously, yeah. That's been talked about many times, and it's obviously been something as we've come into this game that has been brought up 1,001 times now. So, it's an unfortunate part of the history for both of these teams. It's a situation that you wish didn't occur. There's been a few times I'd love to run out there and punch a few guys myself, but I've never, crossed that line. But there's been a couple, I'd like to have tripped a couple of them and climbed on a couple of them's backs, but that's just, that's not part of the game. And I always have great respect for the opponent, and a great respect for the competitor. Sometimes I don't like maybe the way people may go about certain things, but I love to see people compete, and I have great respect for that. That was a crazy situation. I was a kid, so I don't remember a whole lot about it. I've seen it, heard all about it. It's a different world back then as far as how things were covered and reported and so forth. We would nowadays it would be, ad nauseum. It would just be nonstop, something like that. So I think it was just a moment of frustration where, for whatever reason, a great coach just kind of lost control, and it's unfortunate. It's not something that anybody's proud of, but I don't think that diminishes who he is as a coach. You're talking about one of the greatest men and coaches that's ever been, and I'm sure that he had great regret, just like we all have great regret when we make a stupid decision, impulse decision. But yeah, there's been a few I'd like to have punched, but I've never gotten there.
I got time for 2 more questions. We'll go on the outside aisle all the way to the right.
Yeah, Dabo, 2 things. Number one, with the intensity you saw, like the Rose Bowl, I don't know if you got to watch any of those games last night, but the Rose Bowl was played last night. What impact do you think playing 2 games in like a week and a half are going to have on those 2 teams next year that emerge?
Not any different than the end of the season. You play a big game, then you got to go play your championship game. Similar aspect. So that's I don't think the way it's going to be set up is when you come out of those playoff games, everybody will go back to campus, and you got a good amount of time to kind of refocus and get ready. And then you go back. It's more of a business trip. You go back, and it's like maybe a 2-day deal or something, and then get ready to play the ball game. So, I mean, anytime you have you play a tough game, sure that there's always a chance you may lose somebody or something like that, but it's no different than it is in the course of the season.
All right, we'll go here in the second row.
The other thing, Ohio State clearly had trouble with its pass defense the last several games of the year, giving up over 1,000 yards passed in the last 3 games total. What do you expect from their defense tomorrow night, and can you fix something like that in a month?
Well, I mean, I expect them to challenge us. They're a very physical bunch up front. I like their backers. I think that number 2, he makes he makes plays all over the field. I mean, he's always around the ball. I think they will pressure us and challenge us on the perimeter. I think that they're confident in their guys. And again, they have given up some plays and had some inconsistency, but I think that the fact that they've had 2,000-yard rushers and that they have won most games pretty handily, all that stuff is skewed in my opinion. It's a very good football team, a very good defense, a complete team, and you don't luck up and go 24-1. This is a team that is truly a few minutes away. You saw a great team in Michigan State last night, but this is a team that is a few minutes away from being in the national championship game. So they're a national championship caliber team. That's all I know. And I expect them to play that way, and I expect that our guys are going to be ready, and we're going to have to play and perform to a high level to have a chance to win.
And last question here on the left in the second row.
Yes, Dabo, you mentioned playing 6 top 10, 15 teams and how much that helped you. Ohio State hasn't played that kind of schedule. I mean, how important is it to go through that kind of challenge on a semi-weekly basis?
Well, I think from our perspective, program-wise, I mean, it's the only way that we can, thicken our skin, if you will, and develop the calluses that we need to be the type of program that we want to be. We've challenged ourselves schedule-wise in a big way because we want to be nationally relevant. This brand right here, we want, when people see that, Paul, we want them to know what it means. And I think that's one of the best areas that we've grown in over the last several years. We're the 15th most watched team in the country. We've built our brand back nationally. We're not the national champion yet, but we've really become nationally relevant. And when you win some of the games that we've won, I remember just a couple years ago, I mean, we had a run of Florida State, Auburn, Florida State, at Virginia Tech, and I was reminded over and over and over how that had never been done by an ACC team, win 3 straight games versus ranked opponents, and how we weren't going to do it, and this and this and that. And, that's all ancient history now. Our guys just continue to get better. And it's when you win those games, when you have opportunities to play in those games, the Georgia game, yeah, that's a tough matchup. Georgia is probably easily one of the top 5, 10 teams in the country this year. Unfortunately, they had a major overhaul with some injuries. But to win a game like that, to beat LSU, who was, LSU, they had like 39 guys drafted last year or something. It's crazy. You win those games, you continue to develop the mentality, the toughness, the will to prepare that you need in your program, and the attitude of belief that, hey, you know what, we can do it. We're as good as anybody out there. And that's the mentality that our guys have. So that comes with the territory when you take on those games. Unfortunately, you lose a few of them along the way as well. But you learn and grow from all of that. And, I like where we are. I like the fact that over the last several years we have had some great matchups. It's allowed our team to grow. And this is another opportunity to, again, continue our journey to the top of the mountain.
All right, Coach Swinney, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
As we mentioned, we're going to have Coach Swinney